What's up, YouTube? We are here today with another Getting Started video where today we're going to be talking about defensive layers in Path of Exile. So the way how you can look at your character's defensive layers, the shortcuts are going to be C on your keyboard to pull up your character sheet, and then you can simply select the defensive tab, and you can see under your defensive tab that there are three primary layers of defense, or your first layers of defense in Path of Exile. Those three layers of defense are armor, evasion, and energy shield. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at each of these different types of defense and what they do for us in Path of Exile mechanically. So first off, we're going to take a look at armor. I'm going to try and go ahead and blow this up so hopefully you can see it better on the video. So armor. Armor is a form of defense that mitigates incoming physical damage from hits. So armor doesn't impact elemental damage or spells that are not hits. So we can talk about that later in a little bit. But armor is your primary defense against physical hits. Armor rating can be increased by wearing equipment, taking certain passive skills, using skills such as Molten Shell, and drinking flasks, i.e. a granite flask. So we're going to jump down here to the mechanics, and we're going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of armor and what that looks like. So along with evasion and energy shield, armor is one of the three defense types that can implicitly appear on equipment. Unlike resistance, armor has diminishing returns as its effectiveness is based on the magnitude of incoming physical damage multiplied by 10. All right, so let's unpack this a little bit. The first line. Armor, evasion, and energy shield are implicit defenses that can appear on equipment. So let's take a look in PoE really quickly at my character's inventory. Right now we are using a Belly of the Beast, a 5-link. Whoops, let's go ahead and change this so that way you can see everything. There we go. So Belly of the Beast is an armor and evasion based defensive chess piece, which means it's implicit at the very top of an item. Those are the stats that are implicit right below quality. It's got armor and evasion as its base implicits. That means that's the basic thing that makes the armor what it is. It's its base. It's the most foundational stat that makes up the piece of armor or piece of gear in its particular category. So typically you can have armor, evasion, and energy shield based gear, particularly defensive gear, and then you can have hybrids where armor and evasion get mixed, or evasion and energy shield get mixed, or armor and energy shield get mixed. You can have hybrids of these, but typically you're going to have one or the other. I'm wearing some boots that are armor boots. They're called the Red Blade Tramplers. I'm also wearing a unique helmet called the Abyssus helmet. It's an armor-based helmet, and I'm using hybrid armor and evasion-based gloves, the Hemophilia, the Serpent Scale gauntlets. On my belt, you can see that there isn't an implicit armor roll. Some belts are going to give you armor or evasion or energy shield as an implicit. The current belt that I'm using does not. But those are going to be the three basic introductory defenses that you can roll on your gear: armor, energy shield, or evasion. So that's what it means when it says implicit. Okay, so unlike resistance, armor has diminishing returns multiplied by 10, a magnitude of incoming physical damage multiplied by 10. So what exactly does this mean? It means as a result, armor is most effective in mitigating small hits, i.e. 50% and better reduction for initial damage less than 1/10 of the armor value, and least effective in mitigating very, very large hits where its absolute reduction can at most be 1/10 of the armor value. So let's jump down here to the rule of thumb to actually figure out what does all of this mean statistically, numerically. What does that mean for armor? It means that to prevent 1/3 of damage, you need armor that is 5 times the damage. In other words, if you take 100 damage, if you take a hit, a physical hit that's 100 damage, and you have 500 armor, then you prevent 1/3 of that damage. To prevent half damage, so to prevent 50% of the damage coming in, you need armor that is 10 times the damage. In other words, if you take a hit that's 100 physical damage, then you need 1,000 armor to reduce it by half. So that means that you're actually going to take 50 points of damage. To prevent 2/3 of damage, 66%, you need armor 20 times the damage. In other words, you need 2,000 armor to negate 66% of a 100 damage physical hit. To prevent 3/4, or 75%, You need armor 30 times the damage, so on and so forth, up to 90% of the damage. Okay, so if you have 9,000 armor, which I think I've got 2 characters in Standard League that have got more armor than that, then you can prevent 90% of the physical damage, and you're only taking 10 damage off that. Now, armor will never prevent more damage than its value divided by 10. So that means that if you have 1,000 armor, 1,000 armor will never prevent more than 100 damage. Okay, so you can't get to 100% physical damage mitigation. Now, there's some ways to do that through gem setups, initially, or most notably through Immortal Call, but that's the basic principle. Okay, now there's a bunch of algebra here. We're not going to go into this. We're not going to go into all of the numerical values of it, but what you do need to understand is that armor has got diminishing returns. So you can see along this chart, the more armor you have, sure, the less damage you take, but it's a diminishing return. You notice that you can get up to 50% damage reduction with simply 1,000 armor, but that you need much, much more flat armor in order to block, or not block, but in order to negate the rest of the damage that's coming through. All right, now, as we jump over from armor to evasion's shield, from armor to evasion, this is a little bit different than dodge, but it is your second primary layer of defense. So a lot of characters will rely on armor in order to negate physical damage that's coming through. Evasion is another way to negate damage that's coming through. So evasion is the first layer of defense that increases a character's chance to evade incoming attacks. Evasion is opposed by the attacker's accuracy. So along with armor and energy shield, evasion is one of the 3 defense types that can implicitly appear on equipment. All classes start with 53 base evasion rating and gain 3 additional evasion per level. The first level is included in this, so a level 1 character will have 56 base evasion. This gives a base of 353 evasion at level 100. Dexterity, as a stat, also grants bonuses to evasion. Every 5 points of dexterity provides 1% increased evasion rating. Non-multiples of 5 will be rounded up to the nearest multiple of 5. In other words, if you have 142 dexterity, it's going to get rounded up to 145. All right, so let's see exactly what the mechanics of evasion are. The higher your mechanics are, what good does it do you? Well, evading an attack prevents all damage and other harmful effects, including status ailments and stuns. Only melee and ranged attacks can be evaded. Spells will automatically hit. Okay, so we're already seeing here, while evasion is fantastically strong, if it works, spells are automatically going to hit you. So you can, this is one way that you can get around physical hits. Same thing as armor. Armor reduces physical hits. Evasion says, nope, don't even want to worry about it whatsoever while I'm not getting hit. Evasion does mean, however, that you're not going to have damage mitigation when you get hit, whereas armor is going to give you that damage mitigation. So it's a trade-off between the two. The chance to evade an attack is based on the defender's evasion rating versus the attacker's accuracy. So here's the formula for it. Chance to evade equals 1, where you have the attacker's accuracy opposed by the defender's evasion times 1/4. Okay, so what does that mean? It means chance to evade can never be lower than 5% nor higher than 95%. So remember how the last threshold for armor was 90%? Well, the last threshold for evasion is going to be 95%. The exception to this is the modifier cannot evade enemy attacks from the example of Unwavering Stance Keystone on the passive tree or the Ezomite Peak, which we have an example of right here. The Ezomite Peak has cannot evade enemy attacks. So good luck. You're just not going to evade anything. It's not going to happen. All right. This completely removes the character's chance to evade. As an opposite, hits with hits can't be evaded modifier do not take target's chance to evade into account. Evasion also gives an implicit chance to not receive critical strikes from attacks. Critical strikes from spells can't be evaded. If an incoming critical strike succeeds its hit roll, a second independent roll is performed to determine if the critical is evaded or not. If this roll succeeds, a critical strike is scored. If it fails, the attack still hits, but only for regular damage. All right, here we see another beautiful graph and another beautiful spread chart of the attacker's accuracy as it goes up versus the defender's evasion rating and what the percentages are against that opposed. The chance to avoid being indicated here in the different colors, with the darker color being a greater chance to evade the hit. So the more evasion you've got, as opposed to the less your attacker's accuracy, the better chance you are simply going to avoid that hit altogether through your evasion rating. Characters that start out on the right-hand side of the tree, so let's say your ranger, your shadow, sorry, not your, your ranger, or your shadow, or even your witch that starts near towards the right side of the tree, or your duelist. All four of those base characters, and even your scion as well, that can come out onto that side once she achieves ascendancy. All of those characters that are easily accessible to a lot of the evasion nodes, as well as can pick up dexterity along the way. A lot of the time you're going to see builds that are reliant on evasion as the primary stat. All right, our last primary layer of defense that we're going to cover in this video is Energy Shield. Energy Shield is a form of defense that acts as an additional hit point pool on top of life. Along with armor and evasion, Energy Shield is one of the 3 defense types that can implicitly appear on equipment. Unlike life, Energy Shield will recharge naturally after the character has not taken any damage for 2 seconds. Every class starts with no Energy Shield, you start with 0, and gains 2% increased maximum Energy Shield for every 10 intelligence. All right, so what does that mean? Let's check out the mechanics. If a character has any energy shield remaining when damage is taken, that damage is inflicted on energy shield first. Physical damage reductions and elemental resistances applies to damage before it is deducted from energy shield. So physical damage reductions like armor. So if you layer armor with energy shield, it means that your energy shield is going to take less hits because you've reduced the damage before it comes in and is applied to your energy shield. Damage is only applied to life or mana once all energy shield is depleted. The exception to this being chaos damage, which bypasses energy shield altogether. Chevron's Wrappings, Solaris Lorica, Coruscating Elixir during the Flask effect, and Esha's Vicious, while not on low life or low mana, prevents chaos damage from bypassing the character's energy shield. Corrupted Energy causes 50% of chaos damage to not bypass energy shield, but causes 50% of physical damage to bypass it. All right, so let's take a look here. Start of energy shield recharge. So the bonus to armor, the attractive piece of armor is that it mitigates damage that's coming in. The attractiveness of evasion is that you simply have the ability to negate all damage coming at you because you're just not hit by it. Energy shield, the attractiveness of it is that it regenerates all the way up to its maximum amount when you haven't taken damage for 2 seconds. That's awesome to just be able to walk in, take damage from a pack, and then walk back out and go, oh no, I'm out of flasks, or oh no, I took a bunch of damage, and now how am I going to heal it up? Energy shield's simply naturally going to go back up to 100% charged if you don't take damage for enough time. Energy shield will automatically begin to recharge if the character does not take any damage for a certain period of time. With blood magic, spending life instead of mana to use a skill counts as taking damage. By default, the delay period for energy shield to begin a recharge is 2 seconds. This can be reduced with stats like percentage faster start of energy recharge modifiers from passive skills and from equipment. So along this, we can see what the equation is. Let R be the sum of percentage faster restart of energy shield recharge modifiers as a percentage, the delay period being delay period equals 200 over top of 100 plus R. So here's our graph. Okay, start time of energy shield recharge as opposed to percent faster start of energy shield recharge. So the higher your percentage of faster energy shield recharge, the lower time it takes for your energy shield to actually pick up between hits. So let's say you go into a pack, you take damage, base it on the base roll. If you have no percent increase to your energy shield recharge rate, you got to wait 2 seconds before that sucker starts to recharge. If, however, you have, let's say, 100% increase, that means that you only have to wait 1 second. If you're all the way up to 200, that's going to be 0.5 seconds. Wow, that's great. So that means every 0.5 seconds your energy shield is starting to recharge already. Now, the rate at which it recovers its energy shield is calculated like so. Energy shield recharge rate is a form of recovery and is, by default, 20% of energy shield recharge per second. So that means that at its base at its base level, right, that means over 5 seconds you're going to recover 100% of your energy shield. Energy shield will stop recharging if the character takes damage. Are you getting the hint? Energy shield is there to boost you if you haven't taken damage, and it's great. It's great for that. This recharge rate can be increased with percentage increased energy shield recharge rate modifiers. All right, now the one caveat here to energy shield that is a little bit different from armor and evasion: stun prevention. While the character has any energy shield remaining, the character has a 50% chance to ignore being stunned while you have any energy shield. So let's say you've taken a bunch of damage and you're down to like 1 or 2, literally 1 or 2 energy shield. As long as you have at least 1 energy shield remaining, you have a 50% chance to ignore being stunned. This bonus is not additive with other stun avoidance modifiers from passive skills and equipment. The chance to ignore stun granted by energy shield is rolled separately. Okay, so there are your 3 basic types of defense in Path of Exile, your first layers that are implicitly rolled: energy shield, evasion, and armor. What's your character? Does your character depend on one particular of these types of mitigation styles in order to reduce or simply ignore or deal with and recover from damage? Does your character have a hybrid approach to mitigating damage? Are you using a little bit of armor, a little bit of evasion, a little bit of energy shield? How close to that threshold does your character get? Leave us a question down below. If there's anything in the video that's confusing to you other than math, the math is pretty confusing on this stuff, and that's okay. But you can just know the basic rules are: armor has got mitigating returns the more flat armor you stack. Evasion also has mitigating returns, and it's rolled against accuracy. And energy shield always recharges when you haven't taken damage in the last 2 seconds. Leave us a comment down below. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. And of course, stick around for more videos on getting started and learning PoE.